Hello, everybody. My name is Becky Draper. I'm an Ayurveda health coach and Vedic astrologer. And today I want to talk about Shakti and Shiva energy. And so right now we're living in a time where I've heard many women saying, like, we need more women in charge. The men have been in charge for too long and it's time to bring more women into power. And while, like, I totally agree, like, we do need to have equal representation of men and women. It's not that we don't have enough women in power. That is the problem. The problem is that we have too much masculine energy. And when I say masculine energy, I'm not saying that this is like a gender thing. Masculine is male and feminine is female. Although, yes, men tend to have more masculine traits and women tend to have more feminine traits, but everybody has both masculine and feminine traits. And most of us, we all have varying degrees and different proportions of these. But most of us, like, if you're a female, then you have 3 parts feminine, 2 parts masculine. And if you're a male, then you have 3 parts masculine and 2 parts feminine. Again, this changes person to person. This is just like an average makeup of most people, is that there'll be 3 parts one, 2 parts the other. So that's still like almost half of you is the other expression of that gender or of the polarity. So we all have masculine and feminine qualities. So when I say masculine, I'm not saying male. And when I say feminine, I'm not saying female. I'm talking about a set of traits and qualities that we see within the masculine and feminine energies. And right now we're living in a time where everything is overly masculinized, and the world that we're living in is very structured. There's a lot of rules to follow. There's a hierarchy. There is kind of like this top-down structure, and it's very controlling. We actually live in a very high control environment, especially women. Women are far more controlled than men. And so this over masculinized environment's not really working for anybody, because we're not embracing that like feminine qualities. And the reason that we know we're not embracing those qualities is because when we look around, we don't see a ton of that like wild feminine infused in our culture, and we don't really see a lot of things in our culture like honoring the wild feminine. So let's talk a little bit about that. So what are the like feminine qualities that we are lacking in our society today that could help bring a little bit more softness to a lot of this like harsh masculine energy? So a culture that is got a good balance of that Shakti energy would be like a culture that is into arts and wants to create and be creative and celebrates beauty and takes time to smell the roses and goes outside and watches the sunset and appreciates the beauty in the world around them and appreciates the soft feminine qualities and wants to connect and make community and come together and celebrate and be joyful and be playful and be curious. And instead of the masculine wants to say like, I can fix this is how, and the feminine wants to say what happened to create this situation in the first place, and how can we do things differently? And the feminine is where we say there's not just one answer to something. We say, yeah, it's a little bit of this and it's a little bit of that, or we say it depends. And it's not trying to control everyone around you. It's giving space for everyone around you to be who they are. And it's realizing that It's not about how much you can do in one day and being a part of this like hustle culture, that it's more important to spend time, leisure time with the people that you love and enjoying this life that we're living, and not just having it be go, go, go. And so the feminine form is very much missing in the American life. And it's like the same, it's the yin and the yang. You need both the yin and you need both the yang in order for everything to be balanced. And so I'm not saying that this masculine energy is bad, but when we are bombarded by it, it can be really damaging. And actually, women are struggling to live in this society that has been created for us. And it's not just women that are struggling, men are struggling too. And this isn't really working for anyone but the elites and the people who are the owners. And everyone else is basically just meant to suffer and deal with this very controlled environment where we are being told what to do and how to do it and what to think and how to be and what's acceptable. And we're not really allowed to have our own way of thinking and our own way of doing things. And we're not allowed to be curious, and we're not allowed to question the structures that are in place. And so this is where many people are suffering. And it's not just women, but trust me, this world is very hard on women, especially in America. And it's hard on pretty much everybody except for the people at the top. And so I'm not saying that we don't need more women in office, and I'm not saying that we need masculine energy. It's the structure that allows for the feminine, the wild feminine to flow. So Shiva is like the stability, and Shakti is the energy that moves through it. But when we have so much stability and so much grip on everything, there's no energy that can flow. And we're just like trapped in this place where people can't really even be themselves. And so a lot of men are going to resist this, because number one, men always think that if I am saying that any masculine quality is bad, that means that they're bad. That's no. And when I'm talking about like society as a whole, this is the way it is towards women. I'm not talking about you as an individual being that way towards women. I'm just talking about it in general terms, and I'm not talking about you specifically. But the other thing is that we actually have been taught to think that a lot of feminine qualities are beneath us or below us and are bad. And so like men are not allowed to cry, and we're not allowed to show vulnerability, and women put this pressure on men too. And I'm not saying that I am saying that as a whole, society as a whole, we have put pressure on men to like always be strong and not be vulnerable. And then if they show vulnerability, we're like, wait, you're not supposed to like be weak ever. And so that is totally something that men and women have been conditioned to think too. However, these are like feminine qualities are like looked down upon. And so that's why when we went through the first feminist movement, women actually had to become more masculine in order to live in this world and to survive. And so that's why that's what made men angry, is that women had to become more masculine in order to like live in this society that they created. But we could have gone the other way. We could have, rather than women having to become more masculine, we could have made the feminist movement more about making men become more feminine and softer. and that having them take on more of a role in the home and with the kids and with the family. And I think that there has been some of that, and I do think that that's like an interplay that is happening. But initially, when we went into the feminist movement, it was like, women can do what men can do. Women can do anything that men can do. And yes, they can, and there's nothing wrong with that way of thinking. However, not all women wanted to go do what every man was doing necessarily, and it was never really about what the women actually wanted. And a lot of women, they want to be feminine. They want to embrace their feminine qualities. They want to embrace those more of those softer feminine sides. But number one, they're looked down on in society, and so like the girl boss was put onto all of us. Like, you've got to be like this girl boss crazy lady and do everything else. And I think that, you know, younger generation of women are looking at all of us older women in our 40s and 50s and are like, what are you guys doing? That looks crazy. And it is. And I really think, rather than us all obsessing about we need more women leaders and when it's time for women to take charge, I think it's more about focusing on the divine feminine and bringing more of this like divine feminine quality into everything, into our politics, into our leadership roles, into men and women, and allowing more space for people to bring in the divine feminine and to actually appreciate it within our society and our culture. Because as of right now, I just don't see a ton of people appreciating art, appreciating beauty, appreciating softness, appreciating humility, appreciating curiosity. It seems like we're at this place where it's just like everybody knows and everybody's walls are up and people are ready to like go to blows with each other all the time on the internet. And it's just a lot of these like talking heads, and there's not a ton of listening happening. And that talking head is more of that masculine energy, and the ear, the listening, the like being quiet for a minute, that's that feminine energy. And I'm just saying, I have no issue with more women being in charge, and heavens forbid we had a woman president one day, but I'm also saying that more importantly, we really need to focus on creating more awareness around the lack of shakti energy in our culture, and how not only is that making women suffer, but it's also making men suffer. And it's actually, everyone suffers under these conditions other than the like people at the top. And that's why they keep us in this like over masculinized society, because that's how they have control over us. And if we were to bring out more of this wild feminine in our culture, then they would like start to lose control. Then what would they do? And that's really the issue, is that they don't want to lose control. And having a patriarchy is how they keep the control. But it's a sense of false control for most of us, and it doesn't benefit most of us either. So I'm encouraging everyone to, if you really want to go a little deeper, start to think about how you can bring more feminine qualities into everything that you're doing, and talk about it more with people. Just talking about it, creating an awareness around the difference between masculine qualities and feminine qualities, and how we're not talking about gender, we're just talking about like, you know, a flavor of something, whether it could be a little more masculine or a little bit more feminine. And it's more of a way of describing something than it is a way of talking about gender roles or whatever, you know, gets people all worked up. But so make sure you talk about it clearly, and just talk about how this culture that we're living in is causing more harm than good. And it's because it's over masculinized. It's not because men are running the world, although that's a piece of the problem and that's a part of the puzzle. It's deeper than that. And we can't fix it by just having women come in, because all these women are all also over masculinized. I guess that's my point. We are all over masculinized, all of us, even women, and all of us could benefit from bringing more of this like divine feminine shakti energy into our lives. So I'm going to keep talking about more ways to do that. Pretty much everything I talk about on my channel is about doing that, but just going to keep the conversation going because it's important, and I really think that that's the area of focus that we need to put attention to, is how do we create a culture that embraces both masculine and feminine qualities. Anyway, have a nice day.